All right, everybody. Like I said, if you're new here, welcome. We appreciate you guys taking time out of your day. If you guys have been here before, welcome back to another episode, another podcast for the Veteran Influencer Podcast. That's right. You know what I'm saying? Hey, we doing it big over here.
Man, y'all is professional, man.
I gotta hit the smarter real quick. You know, as you guys see, I always have a special guest with me. But before we get to it, you know what I'm saying? We also have an Instagram, veteran_influencers, and we also have, obviously, our page that we're on now. If you're just on my watch party, make sure you guys go to my Veteran Influencers page. Make sure you guys thumbs that up. Tell as many people as you can about it. I'm telling you, I have so many future guests, themes, and just everything to kind of bring light to the veteran community and what we do as influencers. And just to show the world that we're more than just what we do from, like, you know, our primary job. So please do your part. Help me out. Help me. You know what I'm saying? Help me to kind of build these pages up, because it's only going to benefit you guys in the long run, and it's going to benefit all of us, and to help the veterans out as well. I know I'm not going to go off that part right now, but if you're looking for any kind of merch, I don't know if Rick has any, but if you're looking for any kind of merch, go to Teespring, teespring.com. Search Veteran Influencers. I don't have a shirt with me.
Hold on.
Oh, you got it with you? Oh! Hey! Hold on.
Whoa, hold on. Check me out. This is the first one I got. Veteran Influencers.
That's what I'm talking about, man.
And then, hold on now.
Oh, snap.
You thought we was playing. Yeah, this is the first one. This is the new one. Yeah, hit him up.
I appreciate that, man. That seriously means the world to me, man. I appreciate the support, man. That's
gotta support, man.
Yeah, absolutely. So, like I said, I have I have my logo that's got, you know, some is big on the front, some small on the front, big on the back, or just big on the back. You guys can kind of browse through it all you want. And I also have another design called the reflection image, which I absolutely love that one. It shows the entrepreneur side, or the business side of veterans, and it also shows in their reflection you actually in uniform, kind of like symbolism. So I absolutely love it. Yeah, like I love it. Yeah, I know. Right
really
now,
good design.
I love it, man. I'm so proud of that, man. Hey, shout out to just progress. You know what I'm saying?
Man, and like the way you put it all together, man, it's a beautiful thing, man. I think you did a tremendous job with not only just the web page and the social media, and then, you know, it's just like boom, 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 boom. Now you got the merchandise out here. You know what I'm saying? And yeah, it's real good, man. I really, you know, enjoy seeing you do so well, you know.
I appreciate that, man. I can't do it without you guys, you know what I'm saying? So, which is funny because I wasn't nervous to do it at first, but I see, a lot of people think I've always been going live, but before my first YouTube video, dude, you know how long it took me to turn the camera on and to hit record? Bro, I'm telling you, I was struggling with that. I was like, what do I say? What do I sit? What angle? What lighting?
Right.
You know, what am I going to do a workout? Am I do it? And so my very first video is me sitting on a black couch, like talking about should I quit, and I hadn't even started yet. So for those of you that want to go look at that first video to see what I'm talking about, just go to YouTube, search Veteran Influencers, and you can go to, like, you know, you can just sort it by, you know, first video, or, you know, date added or whatever, something like that.
Yeah, you see a lot of people, man, who who talk about podcasts, who say, oh, it'd be cool to get a podcast, or even just something on the internet, or whatever the case is. But when you talk to a lot of the people who do it, that's one of the first things they say is, man, it's hard to actually do it, because then the first thing you like, well, what do I talk about? You know, what do I say? And all of those little small things are going, you know, into your mind, you know, but the biggest thing of it all is just do it. You'll figure it out. You know what I'm saying? It'll come quicker than you think. You know what I'm saying? And yeah, that's crazy that, you know, like I was talking to you know earlier, it is, you have done an amazing job with this whole thing, man, in such a short amount of time, you know. And like I remember watching Joe Rogan like just the other day, and he was talking about how long ago when he first started,
it was like 10
talking
years
about
ago
like 11 years ago.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And I'm like, dang, 11 years ago. Now this dude just sold his podcast for 100 million, and it's like, bro, you on the way, man. You on the way.
Progress, man. And like I said, I don't do this for money. And I always tell people like you have to find certain things to keep you motivated. And what keeps me going is the fact that I feel like when this is all said and done, whatever happens, whether I make it to the top or whatever, people are going to look back at my original videos and they're going to look at who I put on.
Right.
It's all people that I knew. I've only done one interview, I think, of someone I didn't know, previously.
Right.
Everybody else is people that are in my circle, and I wanted to do it that way because I wanted to set the foundation of what Veteran Influencers is to be true to, what I'm saying? Like, I want to give back to the people that I feel like have inspired me throughout the time you guys inspired me to even continue doing this, man. You know what I'm saying?
Nah, man. Hey, it's definitely, it's definitely a lane, you know what I'm saying, with what you're doing and the way you're putting it all together. And, a lot of people they want to hear our voice. They want to hear what do these vets got to say? You know what I'm saying? On a lot of crazy things that's going on, or, whatever the case is, it's a voice that needs to be heard, that deserves to be heard. And I think you guys are doing a tremendous job at putting it out there,
Absolutely. I appreciate that, man. Hey, shout out to the whole Veteran Influencers team.
Man.
And also, those of you that are out there just support. I got a couple more that just came on. Cordell Abner, thank you so much for joining the Veteran
Influencers
podcast.
Hey, he's all the way from Detroit, 7 Mile.
Hey, Detroit in the house, you know what I'm saying?
Detroit in the house, man.
Hey, also, shout out to Dave Oliver. I'm assuming that's...
he an Orty.
Hey, appreciate that. And also, Barry Bain. Thank you guys.
Hey, he an Orty too.
Hey, Ordinance in the house.
Orty's in the house. He ain't Ordinance. You already know.
Hey, also Eric Dougal. Hey, thank you so much, man. I met him in Japan. Dude's always like DJing and stuff. Put some good music on. They got some good skills. So for those of you that are joining because you know Rick, thank you so much. And don't forget to please like the page, the Veteran Influencers page. So that, I'm saying, you guys get all the updates. You guys get to see all the video clips that we put out here as well. And I just want to say thank you guys, man, before we get started. So do you have anybody on your page that you want to give a shout out to?
Yeah, man. Daylene. Daylene, shout out to Daylene. I work with her.
Okay.
Chacon. Chacon was that's a legend right there.
Is that Revis?
He's a Bravo Nation hack,
No, that's not Revis, right?
What's up?
That's not Revis Chacon, right? No, he was on.
No, Revis was with us too. Chacon, he was a chief drill instructor down at Bravo Nation, man. He was a killer, man.
Hey, well, shout out to you, brother.
Talking about some shh.
Yeah, man. Also, shout out to James Sokol. I actually interviewed him not last week, but the week before. He was one of the he was Army and Coast Guard. So shout out to him. Hey, shout out to everybody that's supporting so far. I just want to say thank you, man. I can't say that enough because, like I said, without you guys, man, you guys keep this whole thing going. All right, so let's get into the nitty gritty about this thing. You know what I'm saying? So, like I said in the beginning, every time I do an episode of the Veteran Influencers podcast, obviously I have a special guest, and this particular guest I served on the Marine Corps Recruit Depot with on the west side, the best side. You know what I'm saying? I don't know about that east, but I served with him. He was in 1st Battalion. I was 3rd Battalion. I don't want to hold that against him too much, but you know what I'm saying?
Hey, we all know how the Bravo Nation go, man.
Absolutely. No, man. You guys definitely had a high reputation. So, like I said, he was with Bravo Company, 1st Battalion. I think, did you become a senior drill instructor, or did you?
No, I ended up, because I ended up EAS and I ended up getting out of the Marine Corps from the depot, I had to step away from the trenches. And so, I had to actually start going to separation class, you know what I'm saying? Because I joined at such a young age that I had to figure out, like, hey, I'm about to make one of the biggest transitions so far in my life. So, I had to figure it out. So I had to start going to some separation classes, and so that's what I did before I became a black belt. They first time he wanted me to. He asked me, he's like, "Man, come on, man." I was like, "Nah, I can't do it, man. I'd love to, but I have to start this transition because, when you don't know anything else and you join so young, you have to, you got to put in some kind of time because it is a big change. It's already one thing, coming from the depot, and then if you went back out to the fleet, right?
Right. Well, hold on. Don't go too far yet. Let me finish the intro. We're gonna get to it. He's, you know what I'm saying? But like I said, we served on the depot together, and whether you got a black belt, a chief, whatever, man, you definitely deserved it. I noticed all the hard work and grind, and I felt like you were one of the few that didn't really change who you were. Like you were a little extra professional at times, but at no point was I ever like, man, this guy let this billet change him, or because he's with this company he changed. You know what I'm saying? So that was definitely great. Obviously, he's out of 4 Tap 10. You know hey, shout out to 4 Tap 10 DI school class.
Man, the legends came out of that,
So he was out of my DI school class, and I just want to say, man, first of all, thank you so much for joining, and ladies and gentlemen, the one, the only legendary Ric Jackson.
Thank you, appreciate it. Thank you for having me, man. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely, man. It's a must that you're, obviously you hit me up for it, but you're definitely one of those influencers. I mean, it's so crazy because I was thinking about the other day. I think it was Santos.
Yeah.
Or Santos popped up on one of the lives or something.
Yeah.
And I was like, yo, Santos, I forgot all about him.
Crazy, right? And it was even more because, I remember you from that WTI, of course, right? Because we talked about it when we got to the depot.
Yeah.
But I forgot he was there too. And I was like, oh, yeah, you were there. You know what I'm saying? It's crazy that he remembered, He's like, hey, is that Dave Levine? I mean, yeah, same one. Small world, right?
Yeah,
Small world, man. Hey, he's doing his thing too, man.
What's he doing?
He's an artist, man. He's a graphic designer, man. I follow him on Instagram too. But he because he always got into art, a lot. And once he got out, that's exactly what he did, And so he does cartooning and graphic design, and he posts a lot of art and stuff like that on the social media. But send
me his link so I can make sure I support it.
Yeah.
Hey, that boy Jackson, Bravo Nation. I actually interviewed him too, man. Great interview. Make sure you guys go to my channel, look up Second Lieutenant Timothy Jackson. He gives a lot of great knowledge on the TSP and financial awareness as well. So let's get into it. You know what I'm saying? We had that legendary introduction, you know what I'm saying? But you know what I'm saying? I want to go back a little bit. I want to know what Baby Ric was like. You know what I'm saying? What it was like back in the day.
Yeah, well, I was born and raised in Detroit, and so it was to tell you the truth, being engulfed in it, you don't really know what it's like, right? You think everything is peachy keen growing up because that's all you know, right? And so that's how it was. And so my mom, she was a teacher, 40 something years, almost 50 years in Detroit public schools. My dad, he did everything under the sun. He, built homes. He did, masonry and drywall and plumbing, electrical, whatever. He still does it. Matter of fact, I talked to him the other day. He still does that stuff. But that's where I grew up. And then I joined the Marine Corps young, man. I graduated high school, right at 17, and then I joined the Marine Corps,
Hold on, don't go too far yet. Hold up. Yeah. Hold up. So, let's go back a little bit. So you said you grew up in Detroit. What exactly was that like? So were you there your whole childhood, all the way up until the Marine Corps?
Yeah, my entire childhood. I was born on the northwest side, 7 Mile, right? And so
Now that's where Eminem is from, right? Or I thought, didn't they say
he's from 8 Mile, which is, I think where he's from. I think he's from the east side over there on something like that. I don't remember. Of course, I didn't know him. You know what I mean? But
right.
Yeah. So growing up over there, it was cool. I loved my childhood, and excuse me, my mother. Like I say, she was a teacher. And so, because she was a teacher, we both had summers off. So what she always did was she's really big into family, right? So we would always road trip down in Louisiana, which was where my mother's from. So we would go down to Louisiana and spend our summers down there. As a matter of fact, shout out to Louisiana, man. They just got hit up with that hurricane, man. Hurricane, like the eye of the storm, cruised right over where she's from. But yeah, so
prayers out to everybody that was affected by that. I definitely heard about that. Yeah. I wasn't sure exactly who got hit, but prayers to everyone that was affected, and hopefully you guys can make a pretty steady recovery.
Yeah, definitely, man. Because it's one thing to see it on the news and stuff like that, but it's a whole nother thing when you got family that's going through it, that's experiencing it, you know what I'm saying? And so, but yeah, so, but we used to go down there every summer, we used to road trip everywhere, man. We go out to St. Louis. I got family out there. We go to, we then drove all the way out to Pendleton. I had my sister, she was out here. Yeah, man. We done been everywhere, visiting family, and, my mother and my father, they were really big into family. So, that's what we did. My dad, he had 11 sisters, you know what I'm saying? All lived in Detroit, you know what I mean? So I got cousins for days, man, and my mom, she had like 9 or 10 brothers and sisters, so we had family all over the country. And, but that's what it was pretty much, growing up. I didn't really get into a whole lot of craziness, Hold
up. No. You ain't gonna back out of it that easy, son. What you mean by that? You be getting in trouble or not?
Man, like it was, at the end of the day, growing up in Detroit, you're gonna be around a whole lot of things. You're gonna know a whole lot of people, and a whole lot of people doing a whole lot of different things, right? But my mom and my dad, they instilled a solid foundation to where I didn't really stray off too far, so that really kind of kept me, out of crazy trouble, so
right.
I didn't really get into anything, outlandish, but it's Detroit. And to tell you the truth, like I say, because you grow up in that kind of stuff, you don't realize it until you step away, right? And then that's when you see it's like, oh, wow. It's crazy. Like, I don't know where I survived, how did I survive Detroit, but like I said, growing up in it, I don't have I love my city, man, you know what I'm saying? And every time I go back, we visit, family for days, I love it, man. I love going back to Detroit, but yeah, man.
That's cool. Good, man, because not everyone can say that, they came from certain areas and made it out. So just the fact that you can, say that, you made it out of a hostile environment, man. And then also I want to mix that, making out of a hostile environment and having strong parents around to keep you out of trouble. So those things don't get enough appreciation and recognition in the world, man. That's huge. Having a strong support, like a mother, father, grandma, grandpa, or something around, it's very important. There used to be this saying back in the day, it takes a village. And I think a lot of people have kind of gone away from that concept. But to have that, man, that's definitely a blessing. And I want to say thank you.
And like I say, because I have such a big family, they was always around. So, I had aunties and, all of this love coming from everywhere, you know what I mean? And with that kind of surroundings, you know what I'm saying? The closeness that me and my family share, both sides, my mom and my dad, both the closeness that we all share is like crazy close, you know what I'm saying? Like crazy close, and it's so many of us, and every time I get to see them, I know I live, pretty far. I think I live further away from home than anybody else, but whenever I get a chance to get back and go see them, I love it, man. I have a blast, seeing every single cousin I want to go visit, but yeah.
No, that's awesome, man. So, I know you talked about, staying out of trouble, and your mom was a teacher, but did you have any like crazy hobbies or anything like that when you were growing up that helped you also to kind of stay focused on getting through school, whether it's sports or, video games or archery,
Not much archery going around in Detroit. I'll tell you that. But check it. I used to play. My mom bought me a basketball goal when I was like 10. Right.
Well, you don't want this smoke, bro.
Hey, hey, I'm old now, man. I'm old now. You should have hollered at me 20 years ago. But nah, she bought me a basketball goal when I was, really young. So you know how it goes. You have a basketball goal, and now everybody come over, they want to play, you know what I'm saying? So you had all kind of friends. And so I used to play a lot of basketball when I was young, right? And then I was also, pretty good at drawing, so.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I was, pretty good. And what's funny is that's what my notebooks in school used to be all just doodles. You know what I'm saying? I mean, teacher teaching in class and I'm just drawing, whatever, right? Whatever come to my mind. And my mom would get on me. She'd get on me because she'd go check my notebook and see nothing but drawing and stuff like, you need to pay attention, boy.
Ricky? What is this?
But yeah, but other than that, that was about it, man. It was just playing basketball and drawing. I never really went out for any teams, though. That was probably one of my biggest regrets growing up, is that I didn't go out for, my high school team. And that, to tell you the truth, it could have really stemmed from what I think it did stem from was that I ended up going to 4 different high schools, right? And it wasn't because I was, a bad kid or getting kicked out or whatever. We were moving around a lot, and so we moved from one side of the city to the other side of the city, and and 1 year we stayed out in the suburbs. So just that alone is why I went to 4 different high schools, and so I think not having a real school spirit, I guess, so to speak, is what. I was kind of like, whatever. I ain't going out for. I just never went out for any team. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I never really had any real loyalty to any kind of one school. You know what I'm saying? But,
no, I definitely hear that. Hey, shout out to Josh Peterson. Appreciate you stopping by. Shout out to Second Lieutenant Tim Jackson, Brandon Wesson, Eric Dougal. Yeah. Shout out to you guys. Thank you guys so much for joining.
My boy Toppin.
Oh, is he in there?
Legend, yeah.
I love Toppin.
Bro, as my voice is right now, Toppin had one of the scariest voices.
That dude used to have the highest boot blouse known to man.
Right.
Like, it'd be blouse at his kneecap and just socks all the
Toppin was a legend, man, like the whole way through. You know what I'm saying? Like it was something in him that was like so inspiring to want to be that legendary drill instructor that you hear about. You know,
talk about it,
man. He was one of those guys, like him, Chacon. All of these guys. They were some of those guys that was so hard nosed and like they really was the epitome of what it meant. You know what I'm saying? Like that drill instructor. There was no weak points in it. Whatever they said, they meant it. Whatever they did, they backed it up. They wasn't just all fluff. Everything it was hardcore. And that you appreciate that, and that gave you things to live up to. And you never seen them looking weak. There was none of that. You know what I mean? And that was the kind of atmosphere that these kind of legends really put out there. And that was kind of what we aspired to as young rookies. Coming out of 4 Tap 10. We looking at these guys like, man, that's what it's supposed to be like right there. But yeah.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Like there's definitely so many legends. I'm telling you, man. Like, and I have a lot of prior drill instructors lined up to interview because their story is always so fascinating. And typically, you know, I'm not saying that other Marines don't have, or other military people don't have
I'll say it. They don't, you know what I'm saying? Hey, I'll say it. They don't, you know, because look, hey, listen, this is the honest to God truth, right? Before I even got to the depot, I had spent a lot of time in the Marine Corps all around, right? I deployed stateside, you know, combat, before 9/11, after 9/11, all of this kind of stuff. So I had a lot of experience in the Marine Corps, you know, and you meet a lot of people. It is nothing like the depot. You know, the depot was some of the, and like, because the depot was what it was, you have to embrace the people that was able to endure and thrive in it, you know, and those kind of people hold a special place, you know, with me. And, you know, drill instructors are such an elite level of people, you know what I'm saying? What it takes to actually make it through, for one, DI school, but DI school, when, you know, and you know, what towards the end of it, DI school is the easy part, getting into the trenches and training and you know, getting these recruits and pushing these recruits through. That's the hard part, you know, and that's the trick. And people who have done it and were legends on the drill field, you know, those are a different caliber of people in my eyes. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, and like you say, that story. I know you say you have a lot of people who have them lined up,
right?
But man, hey, and I won't go too far into it, but I had been entertaining the script of a movie.
Oh,
you know, and it was, and it's not like your typical Full Metal Jacket type movie, right? This is going to be told, you know, because when you look at all of these movies and whatever, if they ever portray a drill instructor, it's always from the recruit side of the house, right? It's never from the other side, you know, where it's a whole different ball game, A lot of things that people just don't understand, the ways and how things work. And, you know, it is a whole different ball game down there, and it is very unforgiving, you know, very, very, very unforgiving, you know. And that was the premise of it. But
yeah, it's like, it's crazy because I know a lot of people are like more so with keeping the whole mystique of drill instructor, and I don't want to go too far in depth in that part, but I can definitely see, you know, kind of like why.
Yeah, and to tell you the truth, it would never be to, like, you know, demystify or anything like that. The movie in its own would, if anything, it would be almost like a tribute to, you know what I'm saying? And so that not only just, you know, Marines and things who have firsthand witnessed drill instructors, but even just the common folk can really look and be awestruck just as much as those recruits are when they see, man, that's the real legend right there. You know what I'm saying? When they see, like, that's what they go through, like, man, that's what it's like, you know, just the taste of it. You know, the saying on the depot was like, nobody cares, right?
Right.
And that's the honest to God. Nobody cares.
Not a damn.
Your feet hurt, nobody cares. Your voice hurt, nobody cares. You spitting up blood, nobody cares. Yeah, oh, your toenails ain't grown back, nobody cares, you know?
Oh, like, them things gonna fall out. All those things, and like I said, see, if you know, you know. Yeah, that's
exactly,
you know.
Exactly. You haven't eaten in 3 days, nobody cares. You lost 40 pounds, nobody cares, you know?
That's normal. Get over it. Suck it up.
Suck it up.
Yeah, man, so growing up in Detroit, mother was a teacher, you know what I'm saying? It seemed like you held your own, like, going through school. And so, at what point were you like, you know what, I'm thinking about joining the military? Were you trying to escape the environment, or did you know somebody that was kind of like a role model for you that was like, hey, if that person can do it, I can do it? Or how did that work out for you?
What is funny is that I had no real, you know, like, growing up, so check this out. My oldest sister is, she's a retired gunnery sergeant, right? Okay. And she was in the Marine. She went into the Marine Corps when I was like 5, right? So my whole life almost, she was in the Marines. But even then, you know, in Detroit, there's no military presence around. So you don't really see a whole lot of it. You know, we talked to my sister on the phone, and, you know, she'd come home and stuff like that, but it really wasn't a real presence. So I didn't have a whole lot of, I'm just going to be a Marine or anything like that. What actually happened, it was a weird string of events, right? So my senior year, right?
Right.
It's like midway through. And now at this time, like I said, I'm 16, 17 years old. I had never actually had a real job. I never had a paper route. I never did like anything, you know what I'm saying? And so my sister, she calls me one day and she says, hey, what are your plans? What are you thinking about doing after school?
Bro, tell me she didn't recruit you.
Oh. No, check it out, right? Listen.
Was she a recruiter?
No. Hey, I'm gonna get to the good part because it's gonna blow your mind, right? So,
that's funny.
So my sister, she says, "Hey, what do you plan on doing?" And I didn't really have an honest answer for her, right? And what I had envisioned, right, was just go to school. My mom, she went to school. She alumni at Grambling State, and so that was in kind of probably the thing in my head was that I'm going to go to school too. However, what I didn't want is to be continue to be a burden, right? That's what I felt in my eyes. That's how I felt, is that, what, I'm costing my mom. So my mom, I would watch my mom go through so much just, as a teacher, right? She's staying up 2, 3 in the morning doing lesson plans and grading papers and things like that. So I would watch her, every single night do all of this, So I was like, I got to do something, And so my sister, what she told me, she says, listen, you got to promise me you're going to do one of 3 things. You're either going to find a job, start applying places, things like that. Apply to enroll in college, or go talk to a recruiter, right? And that was it. That's how it was. And so, and she was like, "You got to make me this promise." And so I said, for sure, I'll do it. Check this out. I get a call the next day from a recruiter. I get a call, right? So out of the blue, he calls me up, and we get to talking, right? We get to talking. And hey,
he set you up, bro.
Hey, that's what I thought. So me and the recruiter, we get to talking, and what hooked me was that he offered school. He offered school, and I said, hey, you know what? That was my ticket to go to college and not have my mother to worry about. You know what I'm saying? And so, and I said, hey, you know what? I'll do that. I'll go to school. I'll go into the military. They'll pay for me to go to school. I don't have to, put even more bills on my mother. You know what I mean? So that's how it really went down, And so for the longest, I mean, like years after I've already enlisted in there, I thought my sister had something to do with that.
Right.
I got to talking to my sister and my recruiter after all of that. They never even met, never even knew of each other or anything. And they said, hey, my recruiter told me, he was like, yeah, I got your name out of I guess they get a list from the high school or whatever. And that's how it went down. I was like, that's crazy.
Hey. Hey, your sister told him, hey, bro, don't tell him I told you, but I got you. That's how that worked.
Check this out. So when I was getting ready to go into the Marine Corps, right? Mm-hmm. My sister was a drill instructor on Parris Island.
Is that where you went to boot camp?
That's exactly where I went to boot camp. So she was a drill instructor right over at 4th Battalion, and I was in, boot camp right over at 3rd Battalion.
Little nasty little thing too, huh? No discipline.
My sister, she had the whole layout. She had the whole layout, and she would tell me exactly everything, what to expect, from, how when you first get there and you ain't sleep for 36 hours and like all kind of like everything, week 1, week 2, week 3, like the whole training cycle, she had laid it all out. When you're going to get your weapons, when you're going to go to, all of this stuff. So she told me all of this kind of stuff, and like, that's what I thought would prepare me. Did you go to Parris Island or no? You went to Hollywood?
Fresh Coast?
So now my sister, she actually had some concern for me because over back then, this is back in '99, right?
Damn, son.
Yeah, man.
Showing that age.
The way the depot was set up was that 3rd Battalion was off back in the cut.
I heard about that. Yep.
Hey, and because of that, the only people who was over there was just the drill instructors and recruits, and that's it. So they had a real thing over there. It was like, hey, we're gonna train old school, you know. So she actually, and now she's on the other side of the house. She's a drill instructor, and she was concerned, I guess. You know, it was like, hey, you better tell me if they put their hands on you and stuff. Like, yeah, whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like, I ain't about to.
You set me up.
Right. You trying to get me set up. But yeah, and when I got there, man, it was it was way more than what I expected, because what I didn't know is, see, when I got there, and you know, you get your training day, drill instructors and all that kind of stuff. That's what I thought boot camp was.
Oh, receiving?
I thought the training, the training week drill instructors, I thought those were the drill instructors. So during training week, you know, I'm sitting there, I'm like, pickup week, you know, I'm thinking that these guys it's nothing, you know what I'm saying? Boot camp is gonna be cakewalk. Shit. And when they told us, it was like, yeah, on Friday, you're going to meet your real drill instructors. I'm like, hold on, what you mean real drill instructors? You know what I'm saying? Hey, it was a whole different world, man. And you know, and I don't know if it was just my drill instructors, but these dudes was crazy, you know. And yeah, everybody got their stories about their own drill instructors, but like I say, my sister was on the other side of the coin, looking at it and telling me, like, yeah, this dude is crazy. You need to let me know if something happened. You know, and my brother-in-law, he was in the Marine Corps. My sister's husband, he was in the Marine Corps. And, you know, he had knew one of my hats from the fleet and was like, yeah, that dude crazy. You know what I'm saying? Like there was some crazy dudes, man.
Why me? Why? Why am I the crazy guy?
You know what she told me? She prepped me. She says, hey, listen, when you get there, don't volunteer for nothing. Stay in the background. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's what she was telling me. I was like, oh yeah, good idea. You know, and she was like, you don't want to highlight yourself because then you're going to get picked on, right? Cool. Yeah. So when I get there.
Tall black dude.
They are. All three of them was black. Check this out.
I'm saying you, tall black dude. Yeah, let me just blend in.
Oh, no. Let me tell you how it went down. So when I get there, right, you know, and of course we now sitting up there with our actual drill instructors the very first day that you're able to get mail, right? Senior drill instructor had us all on the quarterdeck, right? Yeah. And he only had like 3 or 4 pieces of mail, and so he looking, he's like, you know, he tells us all, he's like, hey man, you know, if you don't get a piece of mail today, don't worry about it. You know, once the address circulates and everything, everybody, you know, they start bringing this stuff in by sea bags, you know. So he's sitting up there on the quarterdeck, and he's got a couple pieces of mail, and he's like, hey, he's calling out names, and he looks at this envelope. He's like, bullshit. Hey, Jackson, right? Bro, calls me up, right? In my head, I'm happy.
Your recruiter.
In my head, I'm happy because I get a piece of mail. I go up there, and he like, who is this? This recruit sister, sir. Dude, drill instructor, Staff Sergeant McBride, you know, and all the 4th Battalion, like the whole address on there, bro. As soon as he saw that, and this recruit sister, sir, drill instructors, boom, they flood out of the house, and skyline, front page, front page.
Oh, we think we made it because we got a relative that's in the Marine Corps.
Oh, dude, that was their ticket to do whatever they want. They was like, oh, we're gonna break you. We're gonna break you. We got a drill instructor. Oh, we're gonna break you. And that was they missing, man. And skyline from then on. Anybody on the quarterdeck, Jackson on the quarterdeck. You know what I'm saying? Anybody, getting smoked, Jackson getting smoked. Chow to chow.
Listen, I'm sure they had very good reason, and it was individual discrepancies. Okay.
You know what though? I think I wouldn't have had it any other way. You know what I'm saying? Because that actually made me want to do better, and I appreciate, how you appreciate the grind, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And just like on the depot, it sucked. But looking back on it all, I wouldn't change anything. And that's the same thing with it. They put me through hell and back, but I ended up getting married. Dude, I was a killer by the time you know what I'm saying? I was hard as you couldn't tell me nothing, when I graduated, and I ended up getting meritorious promoted out of there. And yeah, man, but it was crazy the way it all went down, and I still tell my sister about it to this day, man. Like, you set me up,
Hey, she gonna admit it one day. She got to
set me up. She got me. Hook, line, and sinker.
So now that you're in recruit training now. Well, so you went to recruit training. You had a little bit of a rough time, like we all do. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And I'm sure your sister purposely wrote that letter with that address on it. But hey, that's neither here nor there. Hey. Neither here nor there. And so you said you got through. Were you the guide?
No, man. What's
squad leader?
I couldn't be. They wouldn't let me be the squad leader or the guide or anything because I wasn't strong enough. So over there in 3rd Battalion, one thing they made it clear is they said, we don't care about practice. We don't care about, drill. You will be strong, right? And that was their motto, and that's exactly how they laid it out to us. So they didn't care about nothing. They just cared about smoking us and making us strong. So if you can imagine, right, as slim as I am right now, I was about maybe 50 pounds lighter, right? So I'm 6 foot 6'1" and about 140 something pounds, you know what I'm saying? Soaking wet. So I think I might have graduated doing like 14 pull-ups, you know what I'm saying?
Hey, it happens to the best of us, man. Hey,
one thing they wasn't going to do is put 14 pull-ups out there as a guide or squad leader. You know what I'm saying? Not in the 3rd Battalion. It's not going to happen. So they wouldn't let me get out there, and just because I literally was not strong to do it. But on the other side of it, though, I was still one of the ones who moved recruits. I still was one of the ones who, made everything happen. You know what I'm saying? I was still, I was one of those guys who I just wasn't a squad leader, you know what I'm saying? But they responded to me, we were still doing, my uniform, everything, was still above par. So, yeah, I ended up getting meritorious promoted over like 1 or 2 of the squad leaders anyway, you know what I'm saying? But it was, I know for sure I got smoked probably more than all of them there, because all of them I know didn't hold billets that as long as, for the whole time. I know for sure. And with as much as they used to put me through, they found out that, hey, we ain't gonna be, we ain't breaking this guy, you know what I'm saying? And I think with that that's kind of how it rolled into it, you know what I'm saying? We go for runs, I would have to run circles around a platoon. Jackson, you better start sucking wings, boom, and I'd start sprinting around, like heights, everything, you know what I'm saying? Like, it was, they would just do stupid stuff like that, you know what I'm saying?
That's good, man. So you get meritorious promoted out of recruit training. Now now you move on to your school. From school, then MCT, then your school, and then from school to the fleet. So you don't have to say the exact unit, but what was the location of your first unit, and what was your experience like finally getting to the fleet?
So when I got out to the fleet, I was at Camp Pendleton. That was my first duty station. Okay. And what ended up happening was like I say, when I was young, we used to travel a lot, right? And one of the places that we came and visited was my sister when she was stationed at Camp Pendleton. Right. And so we went out there, and when I was like 12, right? Now check this out. When we went out there, this was in like 94, right? In 94, the Chronic dropped. You had Doggy Style dropped, right? The West Coast was lit. So when I came out here and I visited, I was blown away. I love California so much. And, I stayed out here the entire summer and everything. So once I made up my mind that I was going to join the Marine Corps, my whole thing was, how do I get back out to Camp Pendleton? You know what I'm saying? And so, being aviation ordnance, in A school where you get that choice, right? You want to go East Coast, West Coast, overseas, and then of course you get to pick your platform. So it was a combination. I talked to my instructor, one of my instructors in A school. I said, "Hey, what combination of these will get me out to Camp Pendleton?" And he was like, "Well, if you pick, if you get Skids and West Coast, you pretty much guaranteed to go to Pendleton because that's where they all at."
Right.
So that's what I did, and I picked Skids and West Coast. And after joining the fleet and everything, is when I found out that nobody really gets what they wanted. Right. My class was 30. We had 30 Marines. Right. No Navy guys or anything. We had 30 Marines. Every single one of us got the exact duty station and the platform that we requested. Which,
right.
Like I say, when I got to the fleet, I found out nobody gets what they request. I was like, wait. It's like, man, everybody got. We all got what we wanted. But that's how I got out there, man. And so it was the bomb, man. I love Pendleton. I love, it was his own world. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And I love being out there, man. I love California. I'm still here, man.
Well, everybody likes the location, but I mean, like, as far as a junior Marine, like the shock and awe of getting to, like, how did you transition into the fleet as a Marine, like, and what kind of things were both negative and positive for you, like transitioning to the fleet?
Getting out to the fleet, when like I say, I joined really young, so I went. A lot of my buddies and people that I would hang out with were a little older than me, and
right.
They used to call me the burden because I was so young. We could only go to clubs that was 18 and up. So
right.
But that was probably, it was really easy to make friends. I had friends at work. I had friends at the barracks. I used to play a lot of ball. So, I had friends that I used to hoop with. So it was, we always had, and just the barracks alone brought a lot of camaraderie. It was almost like, everybody lives with you, it was just real fun to go, hang out at the bricks, or I guess hang out with your friends, just so happen to be at the bricks. But
right.
One thing that I struggled with was like, the Marine, you're Marine 24/7, right? That whole thing with me was in my first enlistment was what I really struggled with,
Right.
And so when it was a mentality that I had that when I take my uniform off, I take my uniform off, right? And so with that right there is what got me into trouble. With that right there is what got me into trouble. And it was some turmoil. My first enlistment, you can ask my old gunnies, my old sergeants. Hey, my first enlistment was a roller coaster. You know what I'm saying? And but I had some outstanding staff NCOs that really helped me and really brought me through it. One of my staff sergeants, he was a sergeant when I was a brand new Lance Cooley, but he was a sergeant when he got to us. He retired. I don't know if he got picked up Master Guns, but he retired. Carver, one of the greatest influencers for me. He really took care of me. My first enlistment. And
right.
Boy, that I needed the help. Because he really took care of me. He really knew what it meant to be a leader.
Right.
It was taking care of your Marines first about everything. That was one thing that he really stood for. But he helped me through a lot of the stuff, man. I don't know how deep you want to go, man, but it's
no, that's well, we could definitely do that for like a part 2, because I want to make sure I get through like the entire timeline. But so you get into the fleet, you transition, that first enlistment, like honestly with a lot of people, it can be rough as well, but that first enlistment with you pretty rough. But I think I caught you on your second enlistment, and you were definitely I could tell that you were someone that people looked up to, when we did FARP crew together when I was a PFC. I know I did, man. Like it was enjoyable being around you. I never felt like it was like I gotta, stand at parade rest for 24/7 every time. You made the environment comfortable, and to me, that's definitely a huge part of leadership as well. So
thank you, appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely.
When I some real turning points for me, to be honest, was 9/11, man. 9/11 shook my whole world, and that was actually when I decided that I was going to re-enlist and everything. Like I say, I joined for school money,
Right.
But 9/11, it really turned some things around for me and really kind of woke up a patriot. And so I was like, nah, not on my soil, right? That was my mentality. So when 9/11 happened, and then eventually we ended up going to combat behind it back in 2003, right? And we went and we went to Kuwait, and then we eventually ended up invading through Iraq. Watching that whole thing go down was so eye-opening,
Right.
That was, and to be honest too, that was when I gained so much respect for the other groups, right? For the other branches of service, the Navy, the Air Force, the Army, every branch. I always like to compare it to Voltron, right? And all of these elements play such an integral part into what Voltron is. And it's the same way, when we all came together, with all of the vital roles that we played, it was such an amazing thing to see, seeing what the Air Force really is about and what they can really do, what the Navy is really about, the Army dogs. Like, it was insane. That was what really brought so much perspective to my whole outlook on life,
Right.
And then going over there to Kuwait and to Iraq and seeing the people and man, that right there was heart-wrenching, but it brought such a appreciation for everything, for every little thing that I have, every breath that I take, every day that I wake up, every little thing that I have, it brought such a strong appreciation because these people have nothing, and however they felt about us over there, we're there, and just see what they, have it was just crazy, so that was really kind of, matured me a little bit, as a leader, and like you say, when I met you, I was on my second term, or my second tour. And by that time it was, so when I got back in 2003, right, we get back from Iraq in 2003, it became time for me to, I had already re-enlisted, but my orders had got stopped because of stop loss, stop move, because of the Iraq thing. But once I got back in 2003, they got reinstated. And so I was tired of deploying, at the squadron that we were at, 169, man, Vipers, man, hey, we used to deploy a lot, right? And it got old living out of a sea bag. You're constantly, if you're not going to, on the boat, or if you're not going to a UDP, you're going to, combat now, and now you have still got WTI, still got Caxton, still got all this crazy, right? Desert Talons, right? And still got so much that you're doing. I was tired of it. I talked to my monitor, and he said, "Hey, I got a spot for you over on the East Coast, right?" And I was like, "Okay, tell me about it." And it became the opportunity to go work for VMX 22, Ospreys, right? Now this is
real quick. So I try to explain that to people. About the whole deployment thing, because I know someone that's literally deployed 13 times. So I'm not gonna, crazy. I'm not gonna sit up here and be like, oh, I deploy more than everybody. But I was trying to explain to people how our deployment cycle used to be. It was, you leave from anywhere from 7 to 9 months. Sometimes you'll get extended for a little bit. You'd only be back for 11 to 13 months. It's usually around that 12 months. And in that 12 months, you're doing deployment workups, you're doing WTI, and you're taking leave, and you know what I'm saying, and you got 100 inspections in between, and then you're prepping for leaving again. I was trying to explain that to people because like some people that I know were like complaining about like you look at their work schedule. I'm like, bro, you have no idea what the tempo used to be like.
And you know what? So on the West Coast, right?
Right.
This is how I found out how a lot of these things work. See, the West Coast, they go on certain deployments and they go to certain different places, you know, but they have a different deployment schedule. At least the skids do. They have a different deployment schedule than the East Coast skids. The East Coast skids, when I got to, you know, later on, once I got around the block a bit and got to East Coast skids, they were doing, it was something crazy like 9 and 6, right? 6 months gone, 9 months home, 6 months gone, 9 months home. That's what their rotation. I'm like, what? That was their constant rotation. Now, in the time that you're home, you're not home because you're still doing, you know, WTI and taxes and all that other stuff. Right?
Rifle range, you know,
rifle range, right? You still got all that stuff to do. So when I've heard about it, I'm like, man, you know, it was crazy to hear that's what I got sick of. You know, that's what I got tired of, is that constant on the move. And so I talked to my monitor. I said, hey, I'm tired. I'm sick of doing it. I want to go somewhere and kick my feet up, you know. And to be honest, he didn't want to send me anywhere like that. You know, at the time I was a CDI, right? I was a collateral duty inspector, and I was a Quaso too, right? So I'm a quality assurance safety observer. I'm doing a whole 9. And he said, it'll be a waste of qualifications if I send you to a squadron to where you're just going to kick your feet up. You know, I want you out there doing the most, right? I'm like,
oh, that always happens. I was explaining to people, I was like, sometimes the more you do, the more you get screwed.
Yeah.
And
right.
I know I'm not trying to, you know, say too much about that, but sometimes like the hard chargers, the ones that are like, you know, in the mix, and the ones that are trying to be like, you know, learn as much as possible, the ones that are always doing the best, never get a break. I watch so many people that never want to put in work, that are lazy. It seems like they're the ones that get hooked up a lot, you know?
You know, here's what I found out too, you know, that is, you know, that's because you see like a lot of guys who aren't putting in work or whatever, and then they might pack them out and say, all right, we'll go sit in 2 room or go work, you know, go work at GSE or whatever the case is. They might pack them off to the gate or something crazy, right?
Barracks.
But yeah, right. So, but a mark of leadership is those guys that say, nah, I'm about to put in work with you. You know, like we're gonna figure this out. And as a leader, right, when you get guys like that are unmotivated and don't want to do whatever the case is, you know, instead of looking at it and saying, hey, you know what, I'm just going to shit can this guy out somewhere else. It's going to be somebody else's problem. You know, you take that on as a challenge and say, okay, well, clearly I need to come across maybe a little different, or maybe we need to figure out what motivates this guy and get him to where, you know, he should be, or where I think he's capable of being, you know, and taking on that type of perspective and putting in that kind of work with those kind of people. Because you the easy road is to say, hey, you know what, this guy, he's not working hard, whatever, just get out of my face. Hey, come here, you know what you're doing. Why don't you get out there and go do it? That's almost the nature of the beast in human nature. Because I can tell you right now, even in the civilian world, it's the same thing. It's still going to be the same way, you know. But I used to, you know, a lot of the guys that we had, especially a lot of the leadership that I had, that was one of their things. As I traveled across platforms and went to different units, and I was lucky enough to have a lot of those guys who said, "Hey, no, we're not gonna do that. We're gonna still, you know, you're still one of our own. We're still gonna train you. We're still gonna teach you, and we're still gonna help you, and we're still gonna try and motivate you. You know, we'll figure this thing out. You know."
I respect people that do that. You know, like a lot. You know, because. Yeah, you put the title Marine on somebody, but even though we say what we do, Marines are this, Marines are that, it's not always going to be that case. You know, that's just how it is, you know. And actually, I think it was last week I was speaking on my Ask a Vet show, Make sure you guys go to Ask a Vet, you know what I'm saying, on Facebook if you haven't already, follow the page. But I was talking to my partner on Ask a Vet about how hard it is to transition back into the fleet as a drone instructor, because a lot of people aren't patient enough to reteach us, and like how it is for us. Ordnance, we can go to any aircraft.
Right.
So like I came from F-18s, you know what I'm saying? And, you know, then I go to QA and then Corporal's course. Now trying to go to skids, it's like, it's a big transition, man. Yeah,
I could only imagine, man. And you know, I knew a couple of guys who did journey around in, you know, 4 or 5 different platforms, you know, but I also knew a lot more guys who just said, you know what, I'm going to stick to what I know and just become an ace in the hole for this, you know, particular platform. You know what I mean? To each its own, really. You know, I think for me, I think going to the Osprey program was a blessing. It was a blessing, man. You know, and like I'm so thankful. When I got to the Osprey program, this is 2004. There was virtually none. Like the fleet, it was almost a myth, right? You heard of them,
right?
You never seen them. You know what I'm saying? There was not a whole lot of talk about them. The only talk about them was the bad talk. And I was back, you know, they had the crash and they had a lot of hiccups or whatever. You hear me?
Yeah, there we go. Yeah, you like froze for a second.
So I'm looking at it. I'm like, man, well, what does this thing even look like? I had to, you know, Google the Osprey because I couldn't even tell. I didn't even know what a picture of this thing even looked like. But when I got there, I was like, holy crap, you know, it's like a real transformer, the way this thing is, you know. But it was a blessing, man. Man, I love being a VMX, man. I'm gonna tell you that right now, man. That was some of the best times I've ever had was being a VMX because you know how to bring the skating ain't even a word, man. I think I was like, man, it was like snowboarding downhill.
Backstroking, huh?
Dude, I'm telling you, man. Like I remember getting there, and I used to be thinking like, man, if civilians only knew what their tax dollars are doing right now, you know?
Nah, son, you ain't gonna get me in trouble.
Check this out. There's 2 sides of the coin, right? Because Marines work hard and we play hard, right? We worked very hard at VMX to do what we did and to test the aircraft and to create a lot of the things that we were doing with that aircraft. It's very hard work, and it's a lot of things that goes into that kind of stuff, right? But like I say, on the same note, everybody knows Marines play hard. You know what I'm saying? We play hard, you know. But the thing about VMX is that now we're testing evaluation units, so we didn't do any kind of deployments that's going over to the sandbox. You know, we're not going to anything crazy like that. And then another big thing is that we didn't spend Marine Corps dollars, right? Everybody knows Marine Corps dollars is nothing. You know, we work with less. But we didn't even spend Navy dollars. We had test and eval money, which was blank checks, and you do almost whatever you want. So a lot of the testing and eval that we did was all stateside. You know, we would find the best of the facilities that can test this aircraft to the maximum.
Right.
You know, and that's what we did. That's where we went and trained. So it wasn't always just, hey, go to 29 Palms. You know, it was none of that really. We went to 29 Palms after everything was good to go with as far as flights and stuff like that. We went to 29 Palms as far as the incorporation of the aircraft to Marine Corps, you know, exercises and things like that. But early on, man, we did a lot of training out in Vegas, man, Nellis Air Force Base.
Bro, I was with you until you mentioned 29 Palms. You know,
man.
You know what I'm saying? I'm good, man. I ain't really too much of a fan of that, but
hey, you know what? But here's what's crazy too is that being with VMX, I don't think ever did we stay on base. You know, we stayed out in town. You know, so we stayed out at Best Westerns, and Best Westerns was kind of like our thing. Everywhere we went, we just stayed at Best Western because it was kind of, you know, the easy one. They were everywhere, so wherever base we went to, we just stayed at Best Western. And you know, whether we went to 29 Palms, that's cool. You stay in the Best Western. You know, we got rental cars and everything. You go to WTI, that's cool. We stay in the Best Western. You go to wherever we went, you know, it was just, I think Nellis was the only place we did stay on base. But, you know, if you ever been to Nellis or if you ever been to any Air Force base, it's the hotel anyway. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, man, but that's just kind of how it was, man. And then I think probably the culmination of BMX was we ended up going to London. We went to London for a month. Yeah, man. We went to London for a month because once we tested the aircraft as an all-up round, right? It went through the testing, the big eval with flying colors. So Bell Helicopter, Boeing, you know, Rolls-Royce, those guys wanted to get it out to the world, right, to sell the aircraft. And at the time, the Paris Air Show was already, you know, kind of booked, I guess. And so the next biggest thing was the Farnborough Air Show, which is right outside of London. We did the Farnborough Air Show in the Riyadh. And we were out there for a month, man, 30 days, bro. And wow, it was crazy. It was crazy, man. But we had a blast out there. And you got to see, you know, how many people really gravitated toward that aircraft, man. They really, it became the star of the show. There was a lot of things that had took off during that air show, but the Osprey quickly became the star of the show. And, you know, it was pretty cool, man. That was a really good experience. But what's crazy is that I spent 5 years at VMX. And because I'm at VMX, right? VMX is a very small unit. We were a very small unit. And we weren't attached to a MAG. We weren't attached to a group. We weren't attached to a wing. We were on our own. We were, you know, the bastard children. So we were on our own, doing our own thing, you know. So the monitor, he didn't have any, I almost kind of dropped off the map to him, you know what I mean? And so how it ended up coming back was that I guess one of the Marines down at one of the deploying units, he got tired of deploying too, right? He hit that same wall, right? He was on his second, coming up on his second enlistment. He had to hit that same wall, and he was tired of deploying. So he got to talking with his master guns, and his master guns got to talking to the monitor, and I guess one of his maintenance chief, I guess he had worked with me before. Is how it was explained to me, is that he had worked with me before, so he had threw my name out there because he needed somewhere to trade me off with. He had threw my name out there, and you know, it was like, hey, well, we like this guy, can we get this guy? Right? My monitor caught wind of my name, bro. As soon as he caught wind of my name, he called my master guns. My master guns called me up into his office, and just like that, very next day I had orders. Very next day I had orders, and I left VMX and ended up going over to 167, man, and to East Coast Skids. So, and that's how it went down, man. But I spent 5 years, man, at VMX, man.
That sounds like it was definitely a good trip. You know, I did a little bit of time in 46s as my first unit. I know a lot of ordnance kind of gets like a bad rap from doing it. I definitely don't recommend that being the first unit, but you know, I definitely made the best of it. But so you know, I know from the time, like I said, we met at WTI as a PFC, but the next time we met was as drill instructor. So like, can you give like a quick synopsis of what you thought of, like what your experience was on the depot? Good, man. Bad, the ugly?
The depot, man, you know, I had carried a lot of what I learned from boot camp out to the fleet, as far as, you know, making sure I was squared away, making sure I was, you know, all of that, right? And so what I quickly learned was how unsquared away I actually was. You know what I'm saying? Like, man, I got to DI school, that changed my whole life around, bro, because it flipped me upside down.
We were all trash.
Man, you so much garbage, right? You are such a hot pile of trash when you get out there, And I was like, man, this is crazy. And like, you know how it is, right? Just as Marines, period. You see another Marine in front of you, you're gonna be eyeballing everything. It's just, uniform, everything, right? And I remember just looking at the DI school instructors that we had.
Every time eyeballing them.
Eyeballing like the shit. Like half the time I'm not even hearing what you're saying. I'm just trying to pick apart something so I can say, hey, you know what? Your uniform is trash, right?
You just couldn't do it.
You know, I never found anything with these guys. You know what I'm saying? Like not
an IP, not a gig line off,
not anything, right? And I'm looking at ribbons. I'm looking at their IP on a ribbon, like anywhere. A hair out of place. You didn't miss the spot when you shaved. Nothing with these guys, right? And I was like, and that same shock and awe that I had in boot camp looking at my drill instructors, I'm looking at these instructors like, wow, these guys are crazy. You know, it's insane the level of sharp that these guys are, you know. And so that was hard for me because, you know, you think you're one thing, you quickly figure out that you're not, right?
Right.
And so going through DI school, it was rough, man. It was rough. And
you know why though, right? Because you were the only one that didn't want to shave your hair.
Oh man.
Yo.
Check this, right? So
you put a lot of heat on us.
I'm Mr. Low Reg. In the fleet, that was my one thing. Is my hair, right? You wasn't gonna touch my hair. I
had the waves going. I remember that.
I had my waves going like you wasn't, and I was Mr. Low Reg. I used to keep it lined up, keep it tight, but it was a super low reg always. And I would still get my hair cut like once a week, but it was still super low. So I remember when I got to the depot, I said, hey, you know what? I'm gonna go medium reg. Shit, wrong answer. Wrong answer. They quickly let you know that's the wrong thing you're gonna do. You know what I'm saying? And they would always tell me that, you know, I can't make you shave your head. That was their thing, right? I can't make you shave their head, but they give you incentives. You know what I mean? And
we're gonna give you an inspection. What did they say? You're gonna have a fresh haircut every Monday. There's random inspections. It better be fresh or you're getting hit. And like every Thursday, you're like,
it was crazy. The level of I think it was like me and like probably one or two others that held down.
Fam, that was you. Nah, don't even try to bring nobody else in the mix.
Dude, hey, and I was like, and finally I ended up shaving it off, man. You can see like, right, hey, I shave right now every day, every other day, you know. But yeah, man, it was rough, man, and it was really hard. And one thing that I remember coming to a realization is that on that week before you graduate, you know, you go bird dog with, you know, one of the platoons over there of the company that you're going to go to. Mm-hmm. I didn't bird dog with Bravo, but I bird dog with Alpha. And dude, that week.
Did you want First Battalion? Did you pick First Battalion?
Yeah. So here's how it all came down, right? The way I ended up getting out to the West Coast was I ended up talking to the monitors when they came out to Camp Lejeune one day. And I told my staff NCO, I was like, hey, I'm going to go talk to the monitors. He's like, yeah, go for it. I went out and talked to him. We got to rapping. He was like, yeah, you know, I'll get you in this class. I was like, cool. And I was like, hey, by the way, do you get to choose a coast? And he was like, you know what? Normally I don't let you choose the coast, but I'll, you know, since you was one of the first ones to come talk to me, the VI monitor, he let me choose which coast I was going to go to. So I was like, all right, cool. I'm going to West Coast because I come from Parris Island. Parris Island sucked. Like, I don't envy nothing. Like, Parris Island sucked. The humidity, the sand fleas was like, bro, I'm like, nah. I was like, hey, you can train for those mountains. You can't train for, you know what I'm saying, please. Nah. I was like, nah, give me West Coast. So that's how I ended up getting out there. Now, once I got out to the depot, and I get out to DI school, one of my he was a corporal's course instructor, assistant instructor when I first met him. And then later on, he ended up coming to us in one of the fleet units. When I was with 169, he came to us as a gunny then, right? And so we deployed with him, went out to Iraq and Kuwait with him. And then when I get to the depot, come to find out, he's a first sergeant over at Alpha, right? So now me and my stupid fleet mentality, as soon as I figure out that he's down there.
Oh, that's my boy.
That's my boy. I'm in DI school with my stupid fleet mentality. DI school fresh. Went straight over to his office. Went straight over to the Lion's Den, to Alpha Company, to the office, exactly, right? I'm up there, like, what's going on? Feet kicked up.
No, you did not.
Hey, dude, because me and him I had been knowing, by this point, I had been knowing him for probably like 7-8 years, right? And which is a long time in Marine Corps times, you know what I'm saying? So I had been knowing him for quite a while. And on top of that, we deployed. We went to combat together, man. So I figured, yeah, it's my boy. Right. And he had a real cool demeanor anyway. You know what I'm saying? So it was never like, pray, rest with this guy. He was just a real cool, genuine guy. So I'm not knowing depot politics. I'm not knowing any of that. I get out there, boom, went straight to his office. And he closed the door behind me like, hey, looking out like, hey, anybody see you walk in here kind of thing? He's like, hey, man, you can't be just rolling over here like that. You know what I'm saying? And I'm like, whoa, And he was at, like I said, he was at Alpha Company, right? 1st Battalion. So that was how I ended up going. And that's who I wanted to go to, was Alpha Company. That's who I picked, was Alpha Company, because my boy, right? And what I ended up going, of course, I got Bravo, right? And so now Bravo had a reputation on the depot.
For what?
Check this out. Bravo had a reputation on the depot that was like, it was almost like a lion's den, right? Like you walk into a lion's den and you know how you got the pucker effect. You walk into a wolf's den, and I don't care if you're a drill instructor, if you're a recruit, no matter what, you walk around amongst those kind of guys, right? It's almost like, holy shit, you feel something, you know what I'm saying? They had that kind of presence about them, and they had that kind of reputation around the depot about, their drill instructors and their recruits. And they were top notch, top of the line. They were going to hold you accountable for every single thing, and that was what I got. And I'm so glad that I ended up getting it, because like I say, you embrace the grind, you embrace the suck, right? And I wouldn't have it any other way. And so once I bird dogged with Alpha, that's when I firsthand saw what it's really like to be a drill instructor. Alpha Company, the boys, they train hard. They train hard. And so bird dogging with them, and I'm looking over like, I felt bad that I get to go back to the barracks. I felt bad that I get to leave at, 9 o'clock.
No, you didn't. Stop. You did not feel bad.
Trust me, man. I used to offer, and I'm like, man, if you want, man, I can come back. I can bring you this. I can bring you snacks, whatever, right? I'm telling them, because I felt that them boys used to work. And that's when I really realized that DI school is the easy part. When you get across the street and now you're in the trenches, that's when the work starts, and that's when it really started to hit home. And I'm like, man, this is about to be insane. And when I got to my first platoon, boy, my first cycle was rough, man. It was rough. It was bad. And it was a breaking point for me, And you know how the song goes, right? First phase break you down, second phase start to come around, third phase lead to me. That's how it was for me. My first cycle was that breaking cycle.
Oh, I was terrible my first cycle.
They broke me off. It broke me off so bad. And the way that they train, and the way that they train hats, and they train and the hats train recruits, and the way it all went down, it was bad. But like my J and my senior and even, you know, my Chiefs and everything, they set such a standard. They wouldn't let anything but top notch be accepted, right? It was never anything less. What that did for me was when I came back from my second cycle, I was a ball of fire, right? I felt like it. I felt like I could run for days. I could scream for days. It was never going to be, you know, no more tired, no more looking, you know, I felt like I could do this, you know, like you feel your groove, you know what I'm saying? Like I say, second phase started to come around. My second cycle, I worked into a groove, and it really started to come around for me, you know what I'm saying? And by the time, you know, I was in my third cycle, I felt like, yeah, this is it. You know, this is where I belong. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is where I belong. And I thoroughly enjoyed my time on the depot after my first cycle. First cycle, man. I was like, dude, this is, and like I remember almost daily, like, why did I do this? Like, this is crazy, you know? Like,
bro, you're not the only one, man. Because yeah, I know my first cycle terrible. Second one.
Shout out real quick. Shout out my sister, man. She just chimed in, man.
I swear I didn't.
Yeah.
No, but yeah, definitely, man. First cycle was it was, I mean, it's a learning experience. I don't even want to say terrible because you got to compare it to what the expectation was. Second cycle, you start getting a little bit better because you start getting a little bit more responsibility other than just running around the screen, but you're still running around the screen. Third cycle was my first third half cycle. That's when I started to feel the rhythm, and we had an amazing team. And then next cycle I was able to be on myself, and then it's just
my first cycle. I ended up some stuff had went down to where I ended up becoming a third hat my very first cycle. You know what I'm saying? And so that was a lot because I'm already, you know, weak ass hat over here. You know, I'm already a Bobby hat, and now I'm the third hat on a 3-man team. So, and then my next cycle, I stayed a third hat for like the next 3 or 4 cycles, and so. But that first one was rough, man, and it was being on a 3-hat team. I was on a 3-hat team, I think, until probably like my 4th cycle, you know, and to where there's no slack with a 3-hat team.
Oh yeah,
there's no slack, no corners that can be cut. Everything has to be on point, you know, with a 3-man team. And my Jay, who later became my senior, we stayed together for like 3 or 4 cycles. He was, man, this dude, I had so much respect for this guy. He had been in the Marine Corps for like maybe 5 years, right? Very like young in his Marine Corps career and young in life too. I think he was only like 24, 25 or something like that. But this dude was one of the hardest guys I've ever met, you know, and the way he trained recruits and the level and the amount of demand that he demanded from me, himself, and from his drill instructors and from his recruits was second to none. You know what I'm saying? And so that made me step my game up so much more because it was like, I see what he goes through. I see what he puts himself through. There's no way I can slack. You know, there's no way I'm going to let me down. I'm not going to let him down, and I'm not going to let these recruits down. He put such a spin on giving everything you got every single day, every single moment when you're on that depot, because these kids, they did their part, right? When they show up and they get on them yellow footprints, they did their part. Now it's up to you to train them. Now you got to give them everything you got every single moment. You know what I'm saying? And so it was so almost like wow, you know what I'm saying? Because when he explained how all of that, you know, how he felt about it, that kind of passion spilled over into me, and it was like, you know what, I have to give them everything. You know what I'm saying? I got to give them everything I got every single time. There's no weakness to be shown. There's no, that whole nobody cares thing was even more on the forefront because I got to give them everything. I can't take, a cycle off. I can't, relax a little bit and, hey, maybe I'll come around second cycle because these recruits need it now. You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't want to be that, well, who are your drill instructor? You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't want to be that guy. You know what I'm saying? And demanding that much from myself and demanding that much, from the whole, the way we as a team were, it was refreshing. It was, I wouldn't have it any other way. It hurt. I ain't gonna lie, it hurt. But eventually, once you figure out, and you put your mind to it, then it works out and it becomes, that's how it's supposed to be. You know what I'm saying? And you give so much to the depot, you give so much to recruit training. You know what I'm saying? Like, I envy you guys who went back out to the fleet. Going back out to the fleet, man, dude.
It definitely requires, some work to go out there. And, in the Marine Corps as well as other places as well, because there's always been people before you that did it, you try to like have this this selfless type mentality where it's like, well, other people before me did it, so I'm not going to sit here and think about how I feel and blah, 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 blah. But sometimes it's like, yeah, people did it before, but don't think that just because they did it, it was sweet.
Yeah.
All right. So like, I know you had like a untimely transition from the depot to get out of the Marine Corps. And we don't need to necessarily go over, the whole issues, but what was your transition like, transitioning out of the Marine Corps, and then like, what do you got going on now?
Yeah, man. When I ended up getting out because I hit my higher tenure, right? So I had, when I got to the depot, I was already 10 years in, you know what I'm saying? So I was already fairly salty coming to the depot, and why I ended up having to get out or why I didn't get selected, that's a whole nother show in its own, you know what I'm saying? But I ended up finding out that I didn't get selected, a year before my actual EAS, right? So a year before I found out that I had to get out, and I was like, at first it was devastating, you know what I'm saying? Because I was one of those guys, I was like, you can't pry me out of the Marine Corps. This is me, this is what I'm gonna do. I'm 30 years in, right? That's just how my mentality was. So when I first found out, I was crushed, right? But over time, I would say probably almost week after week after week, I would feel better and better about getting out, and maybe it was, at first because I was scared or I didn't know what I was going to do or I felt betrayed or whatever the case was. Right. I think it was more almost, a divine intervention. I don't think it might have been the best idea to send me back out to the fleet. Like I say, I envy you guys for going back out there because the depot did change me, but it changed me for the better. It gave me so much more perspective. It gave me so much more grit and more grind and more determination, more that can-do attitude, more that we will do it attitude. And, slack, there was no room for any, all of that kind of things. That's what it gave me to where going back out to the fleet, and especially, because, the depot, you're in your own bubble. So going back out to the fleet, I'm thinking like, I'm hearing so many of the horror stories on how things are changing. I'm like, man, I don't know. First time I get a Lance Cooley to tell me this, that, like, I don't know how. I'm like, you know what? Maybe it's best, right? Because the same way you wouldn't settle for a Lance Cooley that's going to say something sideways to you. I'm that kind of guy to where I don't know how I would have reacted if I had a gunny or I had a master sergeant that said something crazy or that didn't do what he demanded, or you know what I'm saying? Like he wasn't that kind of guy to where, you know how it is, man. Right. He was one of those staff NCOs that just wasn't a leader. I don't know how I reacted either way. So more and more I came to terms with getting out, and the closer I got to my EAS, the more actually excited I became. And I'm thankful that I was able to get to. I ended up doing 3 different steps and taps classes, just because my first sergeant, he felt that it'd be best for me, and I did too. My whole team over there at Bravo Nation, man, they took care of me. Once we found out that I didn't get selected, I did one more cycle, and then I stopped. And he ended up sending me over to receiving company.
Right.
So being over a receiving company, you only work. I was night crew receiving company. So
you were skating, boy. You don't know that about that day.
You work 1.5 nights a week. You know what I mean? But I needed that level of wind down. You know,
I'm just messing with you.
Because I'm going out to the fleet now. I gotta really turn down. So I needed that level of wind down, and it took that much just to do. Like I say, this was my first job. Marine Corps was my first job, so I had to learn what a resume was, how to write this thing, and like all these different, what's an interview, right? How do we do all of this stuff?
Right.
Learning all of that stuff was very necessary. So I ended up getting out 2012, and at first, it was crazy, man. It was like, what do I do? I went to school for a little bit, and I kept my profile up. While I was in school, I went to college over at Southwestern College. And I was studying in criminal justice, and it was rough because like I say, I was an ordnance guy for 10 years before I went to the depot. So in my head, that's what I'm gonna do, right? I'll go do that. These guys make great money. Let me go do that. And I started, applying for job after job after job, and all of these, as a civilian, but doing the same thing. Never getting a call back, man. And that was so discouraging in its own, because you look at all of these job descriptions and they're describing you. You know what I'm saying? Like, they're describing you and what you did. And I'm like, dude, this is me. And I applied for all of these different positions, never got called, that was hard in its own. But then later on, after about 2 years, right, I was going to school, out of the blue, I get a call from Social Security. You know what I'm saying? Social Security. And they said, hey, you want to come in for an interview,
Do I?
Exactly, right? Do I? You bet I do. So I did. I went in for the interview, and long story short, that's where I'm at. And I've been there in Social Security now since 2014. My first boss, the one who hired me, Miss Mary, she just chimed in on the watch page, man. She
Donato.
Yeah, Miss Donato, man. She is a lioness, man. I'm gonna tell you right now, of all of the capable leaders and the formidable leaders that I have met in my Marine Corps career, she stands right alongside of them. And I'm 5 foot nothing, little small lady, but I mean,
put the mitts on you.
one of the best leaders and best mentors that I've ever had. And she was my first boss. She was the one who was the final say on hiring me. But she really knew what it meant to take care of her people, to make sure that we're taken care of. How that delicate line of troop welfare and mission accomplishment, right? I mean, she walked that line with such prowess, man. She did. She retired 52 years, I think, with Social Security. Man, she's a legend. She's a legend in her own right, man. And but she taught me so much on what it means on the civilian side, and how to make that transition. And now, that's what I do now, and I love it, man. I love it. And for guys who are getting out soon or thinking about it, or whatever the case was, or whatever the case is, going federal for me was a good thing, right? Because a lot of the things carry over as far as, I did 13 years in the Marine Corps, right? Active duty. So that time carries over for me with my federal service now, so now I've been with, the agency for 6 years already. Well, it also includes my 13 years that I did with the Marine Corps, you know what I mean? And so doing all of that, then you do what's called buying back your time. When you buy back your time, and basically all it is, you pay X amount of dollars a paycheck or whatever, and you're getting that time that your federal service in the military, and you're adding that one to your, basically your retirement, right? So let's say I do 20 years with Social Security. Instead of me getting a 20-year pension from Social Security, I get a 33-year pension from Social Security because I bought my time back and I'm getting that, tacked on,
So what's the difference like between the Marine Corps', the military's retirement and Social Security's retirement?
So with Social Security and its own Social Security, working for the agency has their own retirement, and it's fairly similar to military retirement as far as the amount of money and stuff like that, and how you attain it. You have to be a certain age. Well, with civilian side of the house, more or less, you have to be a certain age. With Marine Corps, as soon as you hit your 20 years, you're eligible for retirement, basically, right? And so, if I would have hit my 20 years, I'd have been 37 and collecting the retirement benefit. You know what I mean? With the civilian sectors, you more or less have to be a certain age. But once you are a certain age, and you put a certain amount of time in with the agency, then you can collect the retirement from them too. Now, all of that is separate from Social Security benefits, which everybody gets, right? That's the taxes that you're getting taxed on. Now, that's something completely separate. But it is good because it's you may get compensated from the VA and things like that, but you're not collecting retirement. Well, when you go federal service after you've done your military time, and if you're not collecting the retirement already, you can buy that time back and collect it on the civilian side, if you're going federal service. And I recommend that if you're looking into it, right? If you want to stay federal, it is a great thing to do.
But what does it look like though? Like for us, it's the high three. At 20 years, you get 50% of your last 3-year average. So how does it work for federal?
Extremely similar. Like you pretty much hit it on the
okay, so it's all the same.
Right, okay. Exactly. Yeah.
So can you have gone? I guess there would be no point in you going reserves then, right? If you're going to get a federal job, if it's going to lead to the same type benefits.
You can. I knew a reservist. She was a reservist. Well, she did some active duty Navy, and then she went reservist, and then she was still working for Social Security too. Okay. You can. I don't know the details because I've never been a reservist on what that looks like for them. Now, with active duty, for sure, it helps. But I think the caveat is that if you're already collecting the retirement for your federal service, right? Let's say you did your 20 years or whatever, then that's not going to get tacked on. It's when you are not collecting or getting compensated for that time, that's when it gets tacked on and you're able to buy back that time. You know what I mean? So
right. That's what I mean though. Like, so let's say you did 13 years, you could have gone to the reserves to get your points toward retirement, but also work in the Social Security to be working toward your second retirement, right?
Yeah. And in that aspect, I don't think that it does a whole lot. Like if you went reservist and then started working for the, I don't think that it does a whole lot as far as like bumping up your retirement benefits.
Well, I mean, so if you go reservist, you can still work toward your regular pension. You know, you just got to acquire so many points to get to that point, the equivalent
you mean like for the military side?
Right.
So
you can get a retirement with the military by going reserves while you're, and then you would still be like 10, 12 years deep on this. It would be a complete separate retirement.
Yeah. I see what you're saying. Yeah. So in that instance, you're right. That would be, because like I say, then you're getting two different retirements, right? And as a matter of fact, you would get a lot more, because here's one thing that a lot of people in doing what I do now, you don't see. I see a whole lot of it not happening, is that people plan for retirement. People are not planning correctly, or I won't say correctly, but people are not planning properly for their retirement. But let's say you did, right? If you did, say 8 years or 10 years, 12 years, whatever in the military, and then you went reservist. And now you're working on that retirement from the military, right? Now, of course, the military probably messed you up a little bit. Maybe you're getting 60%, 80% from the VA. VA is paying you too, right? You come, you work for federal service, and you put in your time. Now you're going to get that military pension. You're going to get, your VA rating, and then you're still going to get eventually your pension from Social Security, right?
Right.
And then eventually you're going to get your Social Security benefits that everybody gets. And then you're probably still going to have a TSP retirement. You know what I'm saying? And with those kind of planning, right, with those different streams of income, you can really kick up your feet whenever you're ready. Those kind of things that you don't see enough of. Some people really do it right, man. I see some cats come in here and they got 4 or 5 different streams of income. They may do their time with the military, but then they get out and then they go to, work for the city, right? Like go be a cop or something like that, or work for the state.
Right.
And man, these dudes come in here and they have some fat pensions, making $8,000, $9,000, $10,000 a month, just in retirement, Oh goodness, man, it'd be crazy. You see some of these guys have really done it right, and they really just go and kick their feet up. I had one guy, he had all of these, he did exactly that. He had all of these different streams of income, and he sold everything he had in the United States. And now he just lives on a boathouse in Mexico, at some 5-star resort. And that's what he does. And he comes in every now and again just to, check on things, basically, right? He'd come to the office every now and again, and he would just be checking on things, and that's it. But he lives on a boathouse on a resort down in Mexico. He sold everything and went down there. He just collects his money. I'm like, man, this is crazy, But he's got, some of these guys have really done it right,
I definitely feel that like I could have done a lot of things different. I feel like I started my TSP late, because I honestly just didn't know that much about it. But, I make sure I put as much as I can toward it. Every promotion, I add more to it. Yeah. And, just continue to fill up as many savings account that's going to accrue some interest as possible. But for those of you that want to know a little bit more about possibly even TSP or a little bit more about finances in the military, check out my video from Second Lieutenant Jackson. He talks about stocks, TSP, and just different ventures when it comes to monetary gains with investing and whatnot on my channel, my YouTube channel, veteran_influencers. But so if there was something that you want to leave the viewers with, what would you want to leave with? And then also, like, if you could tell either Private Jackson, what would you tell him, knowing what you know now? Oh, you froze. Well, you got that. Your internet's boycotting, son.
Oh man.
There we go. You got that Boeing wireless, huh?
Nah, man, that's toxic.
I'm on you.
But nah, man, if I could talk to PFC Jackson, man, I would tell him, keep your nose clean and keep grinding. It works itself out. I've had a tremendous career, in the Marine Corps and outside of the Marine Corps, since the Marine Corps. And to be honest, with the bumps and the bruises and everything that I've had, I honestly believe it was for a reason, in that it made me better, it made me stronger, made me a better person, made me a better a leader. It made me a better everything. And so I don't believe that I would trade any of these experiences for too much of anything. You know what I'm saying? Like I really appreciated all the ups and the downs, because it taught me so much. It taught me to really appreciate a lot of different things and everything that you have. Even as untimely as my getting out, it was still on purpose. I don't think there was a mistake made. I think it was supposed to happen the way it happened. And I'm just really thankful that I'm in the position that I'm in, and I'm thankful that I'm glad to see guys like you. Like, I know you say you feel that you did it late, bro. You're still super, super young. You know what I'm saying? You're still super, super young, right? Life after the Marine Corps is just that, man. It's life, man. Like there's a whole different chapter that comes along with it. And once you get out and you see, it's like, man, I'm a young dude. You're a really young guy, right? Like in the Marine Corps, you may have, you may be salty, you may be seasoned, you know what I'm saying? But when you get out here, you figure out you're a very young guy, man. You have, just even thinking about it, by it being in your head now, is already eons, to where a lot of these cats are not even thinking about stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? And you're already ahead of a lot of the curve, bro. And I think what you're doing here with your platform, and with your very forward thinking, I think you are doing a tremendous, tremendous job, man. I really applaud you. And everybody that's out there doing it like you, man. The Law White Way, I seen him on here the other week, man. Hey, that's my boy, man.
Yeah, man.
When I see things like that, I really get inspired too, man. You guys really have paved a lot of the way, and even if you did nothing but just tell us how you did it, you know what I'm saying? Right. That would be enough to just be like, hey, you know what? These guys are doing the same thing that I've always aspired to do. And, they made it work, and you guys have done the whole thing. You know what I'm saying? Like the whole thing. You got, you know what I'm saying? Like I like to see you guys. I like to see, all of my guys, my fellow ordies, my recruits. Some of my recruits have chimed in since we've been talking, man. I like to see these guys. Nice. Well, yeah, man. I like to see these guys doing well, man. Anytime they hit me up and they say, hey, man, I've been thinking about this or thinking about that. I just try to offer them some perspective on, some of the things that I've learned, coming up in my times in the Marine Corps, and just share some of the experiences that I've had, Like I say, I've been doing it a long time. Before 9/11, after 9/11, the good, the bad, the ugly. Man, there's been some times where there was some dark times where I was facing some real trouble. Like I say, I had a rocky first enlistment, but there's also been some very, very high points, and all the way around I've learned to appreciate so many different things, to where that's, if I can leave that with anything, with anyone, is just to really appreciate that kind of stuff. Appreciate what you have, appreciate what you've done, appreciate the people that's around you, and just try to be a better version of yourself. Get out of the mindset of looking at whoever else or anybody besides you. Try to be a better person than who you were last week or last year. You know what I'm saying? Like, have that kind of growth about yourself, and just keep striving. It's only going to get better. You're going to get better at your craft. You're going to get better at what you want to do, and you're going to gain that knowledge. It's going to come with time. Veterans, military guys, active, reserve, whatever the case is, you guys are already a step above, man. You guys are doing the most right now. I applaud these young guys that's out there, still lacing them up. It sucks, but you still lace them up. That right there in its own is a lot to be applauded. I appreciate all of that. I love to see these young guys out here really doing it. active duty, after the Marine Corps. I love to see you guys really do it, man. And that's what inspires me, motivates me, man. You know what I'm saying?
No, that's dope, man. And like I said, I definitely want to say thank you. I appreciate, all the compliments, man. And, I told you a little bit about, why I decided to start and everything. But, I took this as a challenge. I said, I always heard a lot of people saying how they're going to start a podcast, and I just watched them never do it. And a lot of people have asked me questions. Hey, how'd you do this? Whatever. I would show them, but no one's done it so far.
Right.
I don't know if it's because I showed them like actually how much work it actually is. Because it seems easy, right? I just get on here and talk. Nah.
I'm gonna be honest. It doesn't seem easy. It it does not seem easy, man. And I pay very close note to how you do it. And with the short amount of time that you told me that you've been doing this, I'm like, dude, you're blowing my mind, man, because you're so far along in the game, when it comes to, like, you have it down to a science, and it does not look easy. It looks like there's a lot of work. And like I say, the level that you're at with what you're doing is already, head and shoulders above a lot of people who do this full time. You know what I'm saying? Your infrastructure is already set in stone, to where by the time you don't have, Lance Cooley's hitting you up all the time, you're actually able to do what you want to do full time. Dude, you're gonna blow the roof off, man. You know what I'm saying? Like it's only amount of time. It's only, time that you have to put into it, and what you only doing at half the time. It's like, as much time as I know that the Marine Corps is requiring of you, it's amazing to see how far you've come with what you're doing. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, it's really cool, man. It's really, really cool. It's inspiring. It motivates me.
I appreciate that, man.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? Hey, big shout out to the Veteran Influencers family. You know what I'm saying? Thank you guys for helping make this possible, man. It's something definitely huge. And, one of my goals of doing this whole podcast is to put a bunch of veterans, give them a platform for their voice to kind of expand on another platform, and also to kind of give their story, let people know that we're more than just what our primary job as a veteran is. We're entrepreneurs, we're investors, we're, hardworking people, and we do more than just what we're looked at as a veteran to do, from opening gyms and, all these things, all these different guests that I've had from, like I said, investors, those that are good with the different programs, fitness, all these things that my guests have been able to achieve and accomplish even while active duty. So a huge shout out to all my guests for that. So
yeah, man, it's been a pleasure, man. I really appreciate what you're doing, man. It that's one thing that the military trains you, and you learn a lot of things in the military, but just understand that that's not all of who you are, right? To the young up and comers, that's not all of who you are, right? You bring so much to the table. Know your worth. When you get out here, to the civilian world, know your worth, right? You bring everything to the table, because on top of your background and whatever the Marine Corps has already taught you, whatever, skill set they've taught you, they've also taught you leadership. You know what I'm saying? Your counterparts aren't getting taught that. They taught you, they taught you discipline. They taught you so many different things that is platinum when you get out here to the civilian world. You know what I'm saying? Well, these employers, they love that kind of thing that the military brings. They love those what do you call it? Those small soft skills. You know what I'm saying? Those things you can't just teach. You know what I'm saying? That's hard to teach.
Intangibles.
Yeah, those intangibles. You know what I'm saying? That for sure you're gonna get when you get that guy who came from the military, who's got a military background.
Right.
They know they have that work ethic. They know they have all of that camaraderie, that team spirit, that esprit de corps. They know they have all of that. You know what I'm saying? Know your worth, man. You guys are worth so much, so much. And I think we bring a lot to the table. It's just a matter of what I do see too it's a matter of learning how to translate all of that stuff too. You know what I'm saying? Like that was a big thing too, was learning how to translate what you know how to do and what you are to the civilian world and how to put that into a resume and stuff like that, you know. But yeah, man, we it's a force, man. Know your worth.
No, that's like actually some really good advice because, you know, when I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do, I didn't necessarily know I wanted to do a podcast or,
right.
You know, eventually, I started off by doing fitness videos on YouTube. You know, I thought I still want to open my own gym. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. I still practice my gymnastics, but, you know, I found another venture in which I can help others at the same time. So I would say that everybody continue to push through, whether you think what you're doing is great at the moment. It takes practice. It took me a long time before I even hit record on the camera, before I could even do something like this, you know?
Yeah.
Like, it's not like I just walked onto this podcast. I mean, you can go back to my first episode of my podcast or whatever. I believe that was with Leroy Brown. Well, technically it was with Tamara, who's actually my partner for Ask a Vet. But that was like when I was just doing mostly YouTube. But you can go back to Gunnerson Leroy Brown. I believe he was my first official Veteran Influencers podcast episode, and you can see how it was there, saying all the time and stuttering and all that stuff. And, you know, it doesn't really happen that much anymore. So, like I said, everybody, thank you guys so much for tuning in. I want to say big thank you to Rick. You know what I'm saying, for taking time out of your day, man, and constantly bugging me and saying, hey, man.
Yeah, man. I'm telling you, that's how I have to am, man. Hey, I still ain't hit up George Anthony, man. You know, I just ain't been in the gym.
Yeah, man.
Hey, I've been enjoying the civilian life, man. I'm like, you know what? I'll work out later now. But
let's go this weekend. I'm gonna talk to him. I'm probably gonna drop by Saturday. We'll see.
You going? Hey, you tell me. You go by there Saturday. I'll go by there Saturday. We all meet up.
Okay, because what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna actually charge my camera and I'm gonna do some on-spot media type stuff. So.
All right, I'm down, man. You hit me up.
You already know. All right, everybody. Appreciate you guys. Thank you so much, Rick. Thank you guys for coming out, listening to me run my suck for a while. Listen to this great story that Ric Jackson has. And if where can they reach you at, man?
Man, so you can, right now I'm just, I'm a homebody, man. I'm out here in Chula Vista, man, California.
No, I'm talking about your social media, man.
I don't, you can follow me if you want to, man. Ric Jackson, on Instagram, Ric Jackson 99. Follow me. I got my dog, my Blue Nose, Kane the Blue Nose. He's on Instagram. He's got a following, you know, but on YouTube, I got a couple videos I posted. But, you know, hopefully we get some more content out there. I'm not you, man. I'm not you. I'm just a dude on the couch who love to watch you guys, man.
Nah, man. I'm nobody, man. I'm just here for y'all. Yeah, all right, brother, man. Appreciate you, man. And I'll hit you up right after this.
All right, man.
All right, y'all. Peace.